Today, I'm joined by Caroline Zambrano, founder and managing director of PetJourno, a PR, content writing, and social media service which offers pet brands a unique opportunity to build trust with pet parents, establish themselves as a thought leader in the industry, and build a relationship with the media. Caroline is a lifelong pet parent whose 20 years combined experience in journalism and public relations and deep knowledge of the Australian pet industry makes her a valuable and unique storyteller in the pet care marketplace. Today, we talk about the key steps you can take to ready your brand to prepare for media exposure, how to nurture relationships with those offering PR opportunities, and how to identify when a business owner is ready to shine a light on their offering. Caroline also believes in the power of storytelling and encourages business owners to identify transformational moments and share them with the media. She also encourages business owners to step out from behind their business and make a human-to-human connection to pet parents through the media. So grab a cup of tea or coffee and relax in and enjoy this value-packed episode of the Pet Biz Project. Caroline, it's lovely to have you here today with us on the Pet Biz Project. I'm really glad that you're joining us so we can hear all about you and your business. Would you mind starting off today by just telling us a little bit about PetJourno and what it was that inspired you to create that business, and what ideas led you to come up with it?
Okay, well, thank you first of all for having me. I've always loved animals growing up. Grew around. I had a horse riding, and had dogs, and just loved animals very much. And in primary school, I was doing little picture books and writing little stories. Black Beauty was my favorite. 101 Dalmatians. I read the book many, many times. So I just loved animals, and I thought, oh, I want to be a vet because every child who loves animals wants to be a vet. And in high school, as I started writing more and started winning awards, and I realized that my teacher said, look, you've got some talent there, let's see. But again, it's just but I want to be a vet, but so it got really a bit confusing going. And I actually got accepted in university to a pre-vet school in uni and another school for journalism. And yeah, it was a pretty big moment going, which way? And then I thought, well, I can write about animals. So, and I didn't know exactly what that meant at the time. There was no pet journalist. I think, I don't know, back then there was not even a food writer per se. Now you sort of have niche topics. But I just thought, oh, National Geographic must be it, sort of. So that was sort of my headspace, thinking, well, I'll get my journalism degree and I'll, write for National Geographic, and it'll be all about animals and the environment, and there you go. But I eventually came to Australia and got married. My husband's Australian, and I was writing for various newspapers, and got a lot of experience as a news reporter and writing features, and started to write casually here as well for the local paper, and started volunteering for the RSPCA. And I thought, you know what, I need to be around animals and see what they do. And one thing led to another, and suddenly there was a job opening at Dog's Life magazine, and I jumped in, and the rest is pretty much history. It just sort of became editor after a few years, and had a family. And when I left to take care of my family, I started sort of freelancing. And then some of the advertisers we worked with, got in touch saying, hey, you know how to write a press release? It's like, well, I'm on the other end, normally reading press releases, but I'll give it a go. I'm freelancing, no problem. And it just sort of developed from there. And then eventually PetJourno was born, which is the pet journalist. But at the end of the day, I've introduced myself as pet journalist because I still write and I love writing. But obviously there's the PR aspect of things as well. And I've just fallen in love with both things because it's really about telling stories at the end of the day.
It is, It's about telling stories, and I suppose it's about finding ways to develop trust with brands and things like that, isn't it? So can you tell, for those that aren't used to PR or used to the media side of things, what's the purpose of a press release? Why would a pet brand think about that they need to put a press release out?
Well, I always say a PR, like public relations, it's really about perception.
Yeah.
And it's comes down to first impressions as well. So when you meet someone, you extend your hand, shake hands. It's that first, how did he shake his hand? How did he stand? Was he smiling? Was she, what was the face expression? What was she wearing? Those first.
So the first impressions.
There's studies on this as well.
Yeah,
there's studies on this as well.
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of with a business, at least a business that hasn't been, really has launched and they're promoting themselves. So how do we want to do that? How do we want that first impression? Now, the first people you have to impress, of course, are the journalists, the editors. The journalists may be, oh, this is great. Then it goes to the editor and they say, for whatever reason, it could be, array of reasons. It could be no space. There's, last minute story that's come through, or some, crisis or whatever. So there's, lots of reasons. Ultimately, the editor will make that decision. But yeah, it's try to impress the journalist first, and by making it about the people, obviously, so
it's a really crafted, I suppose, scenario, isn't it? You need to know what they're looking for to be able to craft what you're going to put forward and present, don't you? So that's where I suppose you create that bridge, is that you're really guiding people and helping them to understand, well, this is the perfect way to craft that message so that it resonates with the journalists. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's about, putting your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And telling your story, the brand story.
And what do you think are the key attributes that pet businesses need to think about to know if they're really ready to start investing time and energy into PR and gaining that exposure with the media?
The number one thing is, I guess, look at what we're going to show people. So is this your website? Is this your social media? Whatever's visible out there, and make sure that those things are working well. So there's no point in me writing a fabulous story and doing interviews and people go, oh, what's this website? They go in, the shop isn't working, the messaging isn't right, the pictures are wrong. There's one thing I remember, a client years ago, they used a photo, and again, it's an Australian product, and they used a photo of cropped ears and cropped tail. And I said, whoa, you don't want Australians to look at that. And they said, well, what's wrong with it? And I said, well, for one thing, it's illegal in Australia. No. And then, okay, what can we use? So we looked at other breeds, and do we want the squash face? Nowadays, it's, yes, we love all dogs, but there's a lot of conversations around brachy breeds, all these things. So do you want to really go into that right now? Like, obviously, if your product has everything to do with dogs with, vet issues, okay.
Think about controversy, but controversy in a good way, sort of thing, not detrimental. Yeah.
So because it's in the news, it's not because, the dog hasn't done anything. It's what's in the news. There's a lot of that negativity. And do you want to be a part of that? It's like,
comes back to perception again.
Little things. Yeah. It's those little things, that first impression when they go, what colors. And again, I'm not an expert in that website design stuff, but I'm sure you know a lot more. Get those colors right. Get the logo right. Is it, speaking to people? Is it speaking to the brand? Is it, all these other things? And is the shop working? Is the telephone number working? There was an incident with when we had the launch, and the phone, I can't remember, there was a mix up with the phone, that the mobile phone number, or it was the email. The email didn't work. Like, it was just, and I thought, no, you don't want to, because people will go to that website. They'll want to get in touch with you. You don't want problems. You do not want problems.
And it's one of the most common issues with people's websites, is that their contact details or their contact process doesn't work correctly. And so they're not receiving the inquiries and the messages. It's one of the most common problems with websites.
Exactly. You've got to get all your ducks in a row, cross your T's and dot your I's, and make sure that all of that stuff is done.
Yeah. And so do you guide the pet brand through doing each of these steps?
I do. I mean, I don't work with them on how to fix things.
Yeah.
I will,
But you'll give them that
sort of
feedback.
call out, marketing, because marketing, PR, very similar, but it is different.
Yeah.
Even the messaging, the content's a bit different. Yeah, so I would definitely call out and introduce them to people who I think will help. And it's up to them, they might have their own marketing in-house, then, bring them in. But at the end of the day, yeah, they would I'd sort of get a feel for things.
Yeah.
Again, it's my first impression. And having been an editor before and a journalist as well, for many years, I know from the other side what it's going to look like, if that makes sense. It's sort of, I put on my editor and journalist hat and go, all right, let's look at it.
Yeah.
Gosh, I still can't find that contact page.
Yeah.
Because as a
Where is
journalist,
it?
you're researching. And even with clients now, it's like, if it takes me 15 minutes to find that contact person, and, and sometimes when I write articles, I'm researching, and it does my head in. I'm like, oh my God, they don't have hello at, or, that's not bad. If you've got one person there really responding, great. But if it's a big company and you're going, oh, info, all right, oh Lord, and it's like, am I gonna get a response this year?
Yes.
It's that, and it's just, you want to be able to get in there fast as possible.
Yeah.
From a media perspective. Now, customer, that's a whole different thing. You'd assume they were faster.
Yeah.
But from a journalist, you're getting in touch. You don't want to wait 2-3 days to get a response.
Yeah.
I'm already on another because I'm on deadline. It's like, all right, you don't get back to me by the end of the day, lost it.
Yeah.
Next.
And I suppose that's where the personal connection is so important as well. Is it like for the business owner maybe to have like a LinkedIn page or something where the journalist can reach them directly rather than having to go through the business side of things?
There are some websites and clients I've worked with, a couple, they just, for whatever reason, didn't want to be involved in media interviews. Okay, that's fine. We can work out another spokesperson, but you need to have someone who's going to represent the brand well.
Yeah.
Not like there's cases where, and again, press releases that, that I see, it's a vet health related topic, but then they have a dog trainer as a spokesperson or something, in general. So you're sort of thinking, what's a dog? Okay, of course, dog trainers have experience. They're working with the dogs. They'll get an idea. Oh my gosh, I think this dog might have a sprain because, it needs to go to the vet. They'll have basic information, of course. But they won't be able to tell you if the dog has kidney disease. You know what I mean?
They won't be able to diagnose or, anything.
Spokespersons, right. But also you want to know who's behind the brand. There was an organization a while ago, and it's not there anymore. It was a pet-related organization that I suddenly discovered. And the team had their faces pointing the other direction, like they were in a line. And I thought, okay, is that meant to go, what's that? I'm more curious. I shall find out. But it was actually the opposite. And I thought, okay, not sure where you're going with it.
Well, it's just, you need to be able to, I mean, we learn this in marketing, that you need to be able to see the person's eyes for you to develop trust. And so many people put things on.
I thought it was a trick, and I said, "Oh, they're gonna be like, oh, who is it? Who is it?" And I thought it'd be nice if there was like a timer or something to say, in 24 hours we're gonna turn around.
Yeah.
That's engaging, right? It's like, oh, who is it? But it's like that was the whole team, and then the organization, dropped. I don't know, what happened to them. So I was like, okay.
I think sometimes it's good to get creative, but then other times you can get too creative that it can be detrimental.
But it felt like they didn't want to be seen. They wanted to be hidden behind their message. And it's like, well, if you have a message, you got to stand up.
Yeah, and be proud of it and show you.
And be proud of it. As controversial as it may be, how else are you going to get your message out?
Yeah.
If you believe in it, you've got to work on it. And you can tell the people who I work with, and that's why I love small businesses, small to medium businesses. They have so much passion. And I find that a lot of them have a reason to be in this, a personal experience, something that they've felt I don't know. Sometimes I think, is there really a gap in the market, or do you just want to do it?
Yeah.
But that's fine. Regardless, they have that passion
Yeah.
in there. And sometimes, yes, there is a gap and they go, oh, this is a good idea. Get in there, but let's do this good, and put your best foot forward. But yeah, and it's just wonderful to work with people with that passion.
Yeah, I think with, certainly from my perspective, when we talk to so many pet brands, especially startups and small businesses, but they tend to either be head-based or heart-based, like they either come from a very analytical perspective of, okay, like you say, there's a gap there in the market. I've done, a huge amount of research. I've done a whole lot of going out and speaking to people and getting feedback. Or you've got the flip side of that where they're more of a heart-based business where it's like, I just love this and I want to spend my time doing it. And so I've created this business, and they haven't necessarily thought of it from a perspective of, is there an actual gap there in the market, or am I just becoming another one of many of the same type of business? So it is very interesting to see the different personalities and the different approaches to starting a business. So both can work, but I tend to find, I suppose, the ones that are more heart-based, they sometimes have to adapt or pivot or something once they get
Of
going,
course.
because they start from that heart-based place and then decide, oh, actually, this isn't resonating with people, or it's not actually getting the results I want. So they have to shift perspective a little bit. So, but yeah.
It's kind of like writing an article. You send it to the editor and they sort of go, I like this, but it's not, I don't know, maybe you need to change here, and you think, well, hold on. Well, I liked it the way it was, but
That's the way
hey,
I
the
wanted
editor's
it.
got this, got a vision, and she could be thinking of, other things. And I thought, all right, well, let's see. And you sort of, this way, add that interview, or worse, take out the interview. And you think, what? I thought that was fantastic, but yeah, and at the end result is successful. It may not be how you wanted it. And frankly, what is success?
Yes.
We come up with something and it usually never is what we thought.
Yes. Yeah, because again, it's just our perception of what success
But
is.
it's successful.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I guess it's a bit of a compromise, Passion can get you so far. It can get your foot in the door, and that first impression, that's great. Yes, that's great. You're making friends. Wonderful. But then after a while, those cracks start to appear.
Yeah.
And then people will be, okay, maybe this brand isn't,
Yeah.
sort of, and the other competition kicks in.
Yeah, exactly. So for those small businesses, especially that are just starting out and maybe don't have a budget to, say, invest in PR and media campaigns and things like that, what are some of the things that they can be doing in the meantime? While they're still growing, while they're still finding their feet, what could they be doing to themselves, to get their business ready for that sort of PR and media opportunities in the future?
It all comes down to finding their own stories, and you get them through their testimonials or emails, customer, newsletters, people who respond, and they say, this is how this product or service changed, made my pet better, or changed my life, made it easier to take care of
that
my pet,
transformation moment.
That transformation.
Yeah.
Then that's your story right there. Then you start thinking, okay, well, what is this story about? Like, how can I maybe call a journalist, a local journalist? Always start local. That's what I always say, unless if it's a huge national issue. But those local papers, they love stories like this. Go local, and then maybe radio will pick it up, and sort of make your way through.
It's those ones that you want to shout from the rooftops, isn't it? When you get that feedback from your audience and you're like, somebody's, getting the results that I wanted them to get, or they're getting even better results than I ever thought could be achieved, isn't it? It's like those ones that you want to tell everyone about.
Yeah. And they can try to get a story in. So it won't, the press release won't go everywhere. Yeah. So you'll just choose a journalist, and you can find them online. Normally I type in pets and see who's written about pets more recently.
Yeah.
And just target them, and say, hey, you've written, on this topic. And I think, and if they happen to have a Twitter account with a dog picture on it, because I sort of investigate, then you go, ooh, I see you love greyhounds.
Yeah.
I have one too, or whatever,
And then once you've got that relationship with, say, that journalist where they have published one of your articles and things like that, it then, I presume, it becomes so much easier to reach out to them again going forward and go back and go, oh, I've got another angle for you that I can share on, that's relevant to my business. Is that how it works?
Sometimes, because if you obviously are an expert and you're representing your company, they don't want to keep promoting you because then they've got advertising managers breathing down your throat. But if you are, say, a dog trainer, not necessarily pushing your business name.
More just providing education in general.
Yeah, education. At the end of the day, journalists want trustworthy information, good sources, dependable sources. And of course, there are some different opinions over certain things, like especially dog training. That's a big topic with, there's rewards based, there's this based and that based. And, everyone's got something to say.
Yeah.
So journalists want to make sure that they are, I guess, interviewing the right people. I mean, as a journalist, that's what I want to do. So I'll do my research and try to find somebody who is confident, who is going to carry my story, if that makes sense. So and the client perspective will be, well, how am I going to be confident in telling the story?
Are there any other sort of key mistakes that you can think of that you see pet brands making when it comes to trying to achieve PR and media presence?
It's not so much a mistake per se, but you know how we talked about transparency? It's important, especially if you're a charity or even a business that is raising money, profits go to such and such charity. That's great. And I think consumers or, pet owners, they really do respond to that. If they're going to choose a company that just profits versus a company that might be slightly more expensive, but it's got good quality, it's got good messaging, that first impression.
Good
values.
Great.
Then they give profits to charity that you care about. Wow, that's a winner. But if you say that, but then don't say anything about it after that, like, okay, so where did my money go? Quiet. It's like, no, you need to be, that's part of the conversation. You got to do, and that's your PR right there as well. And I find that the moment I see that there's talk about, your money goes here, but there's nothing about it. There's no photos. There's no, and you sort of go, okay. It's that there's doubt.
I know.
The moment you get doubt, you're messing with your perception.
It was just a couple of weeks ago now we had Ariane Sackville from Bell and Bone on the podcast. And, that's one brand that I always think of that I love the fact that, while it's very clear and visible all over the Bell and Bone website that they're partnering with RSPCA and they, give their dental sticks and things to new puppies or new dogs that people are, adopting through RSPCA. You then also see regularly, posts on social media and information out there in the PR and media outlets about what they're actually doing together as a partnership, RSPCA and Bell and Bone, and it makes such a bigger impact because you're just seeing that ripple effect of, okay, I'm buying a bag of treats here, but this is what it's actually doing aside from just generating money for that business. So I 100% agree. It's time consuming for small businesses to do, but it's so well worth it.
Yes, it is. But worth it. Absolutely. And look, Tarryn, and I'm sure you'd agree, at the end of the day, it's about making your customers feel good. And when they feel good, you want them to leave you, as from social media, your website, whatever it is, you want them to leave you feeling good.
Yes.
And that's PR right there.
Yeah.
That is PR.
It makes perfect sense. And so I suppose coming off the back of that conversation, then how important do you think it is for a business to have a really good brand story where they're not just talking in general terms about this is what we are as a business, this is what we do, but they're actually putting their face to it. They're getting out there and talking to their audience. They're not hiding behind their product or service. How important do you think that is?
That's very important, Tarryn. And look, like I mentioned before, there are cases where, may feel uncomfortable or truly like they don't have skills. There's reasons, but you need someone to be that spokesperson, whether it's your resident vet or resident dog trainer, or, somebody has to be the face of that business, preferably the founder. Oh, and especially if the reason why that business is there is because of their personal experiences. If it is a case like that, it's almost 100% that person has to be there. And that's where maybe a brand specialist can come in to make sure that the photo you use is the right one and all this stuff. Is it going to give that right feel? Again, you want people feeling good when they read about you and then go, oh, look, they're little chops. He's the chief marketing officer. Isn't that funny? Ha ha. It's all part of your personality, and go for it, but you got to be in it.
It is the key way that it makes you relatable to your audience. So why would you hide from that? Like, it's the one way where you can have that human to human connection that builds so much trust in an instant. I really get baffled by, well, it's not, I understand it. I understand why it's so difficult, because I find it difficult to get on, have photos taken, to hop on video, things like that. But I sort of see it as a responsibility of a business owner that, no matter how difficult you find it, you just have to push through and find a way of doing it that works for you, because to not have it, you're sabotaging your own success ultimately, because you're not allowing your business to reach its full potential because of your own, silly fears around those things. So I get it, but it's one of those things where we feel like, you just have to find a way to make it work to help your business that way.
This leads me to the next, tip would be the same way that you want to promote yourself as well. Not so much promote yourself, but to have yourself, to be transparent, but also to be out and about in the industry and introduce yourself. So if you're at events, go pick, hand out your business card. Be that annoying person, well, maybe not annoying because you want to give a good impression, but it's like, be outgoing, be friendly, get people to meet you, and even your competitors. That's fine, because we're all in this together. Yeah. But also like-minded businesses, people you think, what, I could collaborate with this. For instance, if you're selling, I keep going back to dog coats.
It's on the brain. It's winter. We get it.
If you're a dog coat company or something, say, well, you know what, we can have it just comes to my mind, a fashion show. So why don't I get in touch with a collar lady that I met and the, dog boots guy and, blah, 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 a hat and this, that, whatever. And do a fashion show and let's do this together. Let's, what can we do? So I don't know, there's so many ideas out there, things that you can do collaboratively. But also, organizations. And if you have an idea, a fundraising project, it's meet people, get out there and just introduce yourself and say, hey, I want to help make the world better.
Yeah, I think it comes back to, people that are animal lovers particularly, and, animals are sometimes their most important person in their life sort of thing. They tend to be introverts. So, we tend to be the type of person that doesn't like putting ourselves out there, doesn't like, the big social aspect of things potentially. But again, partnerships and collaborations, what we see from a marketing perspective is the future of how businesses can grow, because living costs and running a business get more expensive. We don't have as big marketing budgets as we maybe had in the past. And so we have to get creative with how we can reach more people without having to spend so much. And I do think, there's so much opportunity there when you think, well, who else has the same audience that I have? But they're not competing with me in any way in terms of the product I have or the service that I have. But there are so many other businesses out there that are talking to the same audience, ideal customer. So that the opportunity is there. Once you start, we have a sheet that we use in our Pet Biz Project program. We have a sheet that the businesses work through to brainstorm potential partnership and collaboration opportunities. And we make them sit there for hours working on this, because it's usually the first 10 minutes or so you're sitting there thinking, oh, I can't think of anybody I could collaborate or partner with. But then after like an hour, it's just, you're just constantly writing down people.
Absolutely. And it may not be a collaboration as such. For instance, there may be an organization that you're interested in, that you care about, an animal organization, and there's an opening for a committee member, or there's an activity and they're looking for volunteers. I mean, time is money, yes, but that's not going to be money out of your bank.
Yeah.
It's your time. And guess what? They're going to introduce you as representing your company and difference that you're going to make. It's all feel good.
Yeah.
And you feel good yourself as well, being a part of something bigger.
Yes.
So those kind of things. Look out for opportunities that go, oh, there's a conference. What can I do? Can I be involved? Even if you are terrified of public speaking, maybe there's something you can do in the background that you can, I'll be in charge of this, or, as long as, my name should be on there, and what can I get for my business, my logo, but let me be part of that. So there's ways, and there's lots of opportunities out there. There's so many events and things happening, charity events and all sorts of things. So it's trying to look outside the box and meet people. Yes, it's about pets, but it's about the people.
It is. It's an emotional connection though, isn't it? It's one thing that working in the pet business space as a niche, you really understand that the purchasing decisions behind, people purchasing for their pets is such an emotional one. It's, very similar to, mums and dads buying for their kids. It's not just something that they're flippant about. They have to feel a huge trust to the brand that they're buying from, because it's their pets' health and well-being that they have to consider. So it's such an emotional decision, and I think that's where developing those relationships and collaboration opportunities, there's more strength in that. You show that you're open to building relationships.
Yep, absolutely.
So here at the Pet Biz Project, we're all about building meaningful relationships with pet parents. That's the sort of our tagline, I suppose, of our business. But it's also what we love to talk to people about on our podcast is, what advice or what does building meaningful relationships with pet parents mean to you? And, how do you think that businesses can do that effectively?
It comes down to good communication at the end of the day. And it's sort of goes into a bit of a marketing spin. It's solving problems.
Yeah.
So that relationship, at the end of the day, they need to feel good about communicating with you. So every time you communicate, it must be for something good. Of course, you're going to have complaints and things, hopefully not, or things that you can fix quickly and do better. There's a saying, to do your best until you know better. And when you know better, do better.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. But building those meaningful relationships, it comes down to listening to their stories, and people love to talk about their pets. Goodness me. So it's really about sharing stories. It's about listening to them, the pet parents, and definitely also ask questions. And when I say listen, don't just listen, but listen.
That's definitely what we want to be talking about, is because it is that sort of relationship building is what building meaningful relationships with pet parents is. It's like we want to be going out there and creating great value-driven and purpose-led content. It's not just about putting your products or your service out there. You've got to build that relationship quite often first. And a great way to do that is through education and support and showing you understand their problems and that you've created the solution because you get them and you get what they're going through with their pets. So
I have an example with the meaningful relationships, but they're not a client.
Okay.
They're actually a dog food that I buy, and I'm looking at changing my dog's diet as he's getting older, and I want to mix a little bit. And I've been liaising with the head of the dog food company who's been giving me really good advice. And he actually said, oh, when the customer service said you emailed the question, I quickly got onto it. And I thought, that's pretty neat. Okay, yes, I'm a journalist, but he didn't know I was when we first met. So it's like, I like that. I really like that. And I know I don't expect him to drop everything and get back to me. And it did take a couple of days, but he got back to me. And boy, did he get back to me. He spoke with a nutritionist. He's like, look at this. And I'm like, woohoo, a lot of information. I'll get back to you in a few days. But it was amazing. And I felt so supported. And I know they're trying to sell something, yes, but he's also given me good advice
Yeah.
of where to look and who to talk. And it's about helping solve my problem and
Without
making me feel
expecting
better.
anything back. If you decide to purchase, that's great. But it's
Yeah,
also, just giving and knowing that it'll come back to them as a
and
business
be
owner.
genuine about it. And that's what I loved about that. And I thought, you know what? I just want to now stay more with
Yeah.
you than ever, And it's sort of, again, you feel good. Yes, you're going through something. You need that advice. You need that support. And there's a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Oh,
It's
huge.
really,
There's so much information now out there. It is very difficult. And that's where education is key, because so many people are out there searching online for answers to their problems. They're looking for the solutions. And if you can show up there with that education, that's getting people in the door. But then it's keeping them there and building that long-term loyalty as well, which is, key for businesses. You don't want to be spending all your time and energy on acquiring customers. You want to be keeping them nurtured, keeping them long term, and keeping them talking about you to
exactly.
everybody that they know.
And even if it has nothing to do with your product, you could still be there for them because they will remember that. They will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not just about the customers, it's about who are they talking to? Who are they telling, sharing their experiences with at the dog park? It's like there is so many
Exactly. And
opportunities there for you to build those relationships, not just with your customers, but just with a wider audience as well.
absolutely. They find that very meaningful.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me what's next for you, Caroline, and the PetJourno. Like, have you got any exciting things coming up?
Um, Gosh, lots of projects. A
Yes.
lot of exciting things are always in the pipeline. To be perfectly honest, I never intended PetJourno to be PetJourno. It was more of I'm freelancing until the kids grow up and I'm going to go back into hopefully,
Hmm.
editing a magazine or something like that. But the people I've met, the relationships I've formed, the industry, I'm in love with it. I'm absolutely in love with it. And PetJourno
Yeah.
will be around,
Yes.
but I don't know, if
Where it will
this
lead.
industry, really.
Yeah.
I just love what I do and I love the industry very, very much. What I do love seeing is slowly, I'm seeing more people entering the industry
Hmm.
from outside the industry, and they fall in love and they're trying to transition and they're, reaching out for insights, advice, and I love that. It's really exciting. It's really nice to see now media is really paying attention.
Fantastic.
Some feedback I do get is, oh, we've already done a pet story, so we'll wait a bit. And it's like, why do you have to wait? I want to see pet stories every day.
Well, when you think about 70% of Australian homes have pets, it's like it's a topic that everybody wants to
Yeah,
hear about. And I'm
absolutely.
sure that 30% that maybe don't have pets still love hearing about it. Thank you so much for being on, Caroline. So, how's the best way for people to get in touch with you, whether they want to work with you, they want to hire your services, or just to network and touch base? How can they reach you? What's the best way to reach you?
I love networking. So either through LinkedIn, but also email,
Hmm.
or could be maybe direct message on social media. But I prefer email, to be honest. So even on
Okay.
LinkedIn, whenever someone reaches out, because I don't check it that often.
Yeah.
It's petjourno@gmail.com.
Fantastic. We'll include obviously everything in the show notes as well, so people can access you through that too. But thank you so much for being on and being so sharing with information and understanding of what pet businesses are going through and sharing all your tips. We really do appreciate you giving us your time. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us once again, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Pet Biz Project. Caroline is someone that has so much experience in the pet industry and is a very deep well of knowledge for any pet business owner that needs guidance and advice in all aspects of marketing for their brand. Authenticity within your brand's messaging is high on Caroline's agenda. She can take you step by step through the sometimes tricky waters of public perception. So make sure you reach out to Caroline using the links in the show notes if you have any questions or would like to connect with her. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.